Hi everybody, Michael here, Flesh of the Father. Today I want to touch upon how many on the right have fallen into as much stupidity as many on the left. So let's go. Okay, so after the last night's events and previous stuff going on this year with a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment from parts of the right, I want to touch upon how I've come to realize that many on the right are just as deluded as many on the left. Because as you can see from the thumbnail, you have Queers for Palestine, which is the most stupid organization, because anybody who knows Islam understands that homosexuals are essentially will be murdered or thrown off top of a building. So the idea that Queers for Palestine, it's just the absolute form of stupidity. But what I've noticed is that there are many on the right who I've come to realize are just as stupid and delusional. And it all comes from this. There's this new wave of trend of basically being anti-Jew. You know, you see it a lot. Candace Owens is famous, Kanye West, Dan Bilzerian, the comedian guy who was debating with Douglas Murray. And you got a lot of Muslim influencers, the Tate brothers as well, like to go on about the Jews. And basically, it's a trend, not based in any real truth, but based in delusions of one, the lot of basically Christians and Jews have this idea that the Jews are evil, the Christians because the Jews killed Christ, they believe, which is not true. And in Islam, basically, they believe that the Jews are the ultimate evil, and at the end times, they're going to kill all the Jews and implement Islamic State, again, based in no reality, just a pure religious delusion. And you also have a lot of theories on the internet about, you know, the Jewish problem and do they control the world? Are they in control of everything? And if you want to know more of my thoughts on that, go to one of my previous videos where I go into detail. I think it was about why the Jews were kicked out of 109 countries. Watch that video and you'll get what I'm saying. But to carry on with this video, I believe many on the right are absolutely deluded. And you can see it with the events that happened last night where Israel rightly attacked Iran. And before I go into the details of why I believe they're right, what I find amazing is many of these people, such as Candace Owens and all the other ones I mentioned, they're on Twitter giving their support to Iran and supporting Iran. And it's like, do you not realize that the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people, the Iranian Islamic regime hate you? They scream death to America, death to Americans. Israel is the small Satan. America and the West are the big Satan. And they hate you and want you destroyed and dead. And that's where it reminds me of how, you know, you have Queers for Palestine, but then you have Westerners for the Islamic regime in Iran. And the Islamic regime has been responsible for most of the terrorism we see in the West has been funded and sponsored by Iran. Iran are one of the biggest menaces in the world. The regime, not the people. The people are fantastic. The people, as I go into this video, I'll explain, the people are some of the most fantastic people in the world, but the Islamic regime are pure evil. And when it comes to the war, a lot of these rightists and the theorists have the theory that, you know, that Israel have the Zionist plan to take over the whole of the Middle East and that they're deliberately provoking wars and they want to get America involved. So America supports them in these wars and they have this Zionist project to, you know, expand and grow their Jewish state. But again, it's just based in false theories. If you even watch what Benjamin Netanyahu said, he said, this is not a war of conquest. This is purely a war to remove or destroy the regime and destroy their nuclear weapons, which are a threat to them, and that they stand with the Iranian people and that their hope is that a new regime can come into power. So this is not like an expansionist war. That you could, if you have a theory, you could argue that in Palestine, because obviously they're flattening Palestine because they feel they're under a threat, but you could make an argument, even though I don't believe it's true, you can make an argument that it looks like they're trying to take over the whole of Palestine and that they've got a plan to take over. You could argue that, even though I don't believe that's true. But you can't argue that in Iran. They've said, and it's clear that their mission is purely to protect themselves from a bunch of psychopaths who have been clearly collecting nuclear weapons, or trying to, and they keep saying, we're going to wipe you off the map. And they literally say it. They're telling you what they are going to do to Israel and what they want to do to the West. This is not some conspiracy theory that people are making up. They're telling you to your face what they're going to do. And if anything, I respect the fact that Israel and Netanyahu have the courage to do what needs to be done. In the West, we're too naive and too soft. And I think the problem is they've got lost in all these theories, many on the right. And many on the right probably don't understand Islam. They don't understand that they have a plan to take over the West. We even have in my country, we even have Muslims influencers, massive influencers saying, yeah, well, we're here to take over. We're going to make England into a country with Sharia law. We're going to outbreed you and we're going to take over and expand the caliphate. And yet still people, when you speak out and say, we need to stop this, they call you an Islamophobe and, oh no, you're overplaying things. It's not that bad. They simply do not understand the threat of Islam. And this is the thing. A lot of these rightists as well think that Israel are starting a war and that they're the great evil. And they've just decided to start this war. And there's no justification for it. The Israelis and Israel are the evil country and they're going starting more wars. When do you not realize that Iran were massive sponsors of what happened on October 7? They sponsor Hezbollah. They sponsor all other terrorism against Israel. And they're building nuclear weapons with plans to wipe Israel off the map. And they're, according to all the experts, they're close to getting nuclear weapons in terms of all the weaponry and aid they need. They're almost there. So what do you expect Israel to do? They're getting attacked, warned they're going to get wiped off the map. So you expect them not to retaliate, not to take action when it looks like nuclear weapons could be almost being provided. And this is not like Saddam Hussein, where they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. We found out that the West lied. Whereas Iran are saying themselves, and they're telling the world that they're trying to get nuclear weapons and that they want to wipe Israel off the map. This is not a theory. This is actual facts based in clear evidence. So these people on the right expect Israel just to sit around and get blown and get wiped out. No, that's stupidity. And that's the stupidity that we have in the West. We need to have the same mentality and strength that the Israelis have. And when we have radical Muslims trying to take over, they need to be pushed back and fought against, not pandered to and not taken seriously, because they are extremely seriously and they believe that they are here to take over. And finally, and the interesting thing I mentioned earlier is I watched the comments in reply to Candace Owens' tweets, and one of the top comments was from an Iranian saying, no, Candace, you're completely wrong. The Iranian people stand with Israel because we're Persians. We're not really an Islamic country. We just got taken over by a bunch of radical Muslims and they've destroyed our country. And they actually are in support, and their hope is that they can take to the streets and take their country back. And that's a theory I've heard a lot from Iranians in my country, such as Maya Tusi, has been saying similar things, that the Iranian people don't like their regime. And even someone like Nima Parvini, who doesn't like Israel, he's one of these rightists who believe all the rubbish that Israel are evil and all this stuff. Even he says, because he's half Iranian, he says that he's been hearing in the last few months that a lot of the Iranian people support what Israel are doing. They're kind of hoping that Israel attacks the regime. And even I was watching a neutral video just from some American army expert discussing how the military action took place and what happened. And one of the top comments in that video was from an Iranian saying, I'm Iranian, we 100% support these strikes. We're hoping that we can overthrow our government. And this is what Trump and Netanyahu have actually encouraged, and they're hopeful that the Iranian people can somehow take their country back. So this is not like the Iraq War or the Vietnam War, where America or Israel are going fighting the government and the people. This is different, because the Iraqi people, the Islamic people of Iraq, wanted to fight against America. And to be fair, I can sort of understand those wars. I don't agree with the Afghanistan, Iraq wars. I believe they were stupid. But I believe this war and effort to take out a terrorist regime is a good idea and needs to be done. And the Iranian people support the actions of America and Israel. This is not like other wars, as I said, where the people of the country don't support the war. They will actually support the war. Like the Gaza war, the Gazan people support Hamas, whereas the Iranian people do not support their regime. They support Israel and America. And that's why I'm hopeful that the Iranian regime can be taken out and the Persian culture can be restored to a great country that it was before. Because many of the Iranians I follow are amazing intelligent people, wise people, and they have a great history, and hopefully they can return to their great history rather than the stupid 7th century death cult that is Islam. And with it being removed from Iran, hopefully it can be gradually removed from the world, and a world without Islam will be a beautiful thing. Okay, so that's the point of my video today. Just wanted to share my thoughts really on what's happening. Like the video if you like it, share it with as many people as possible to wake them up. Subscribe if you're new, and God bless everybody. Goodbye.